Welcome, everyone. It seems we find ourselves here again all together for another episode of The Movie Theater Lobby. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Leia.
And Leia, of course, every week we gather here to increase our knowledge, get some fun little trivia and stuff all together, right? And it's very appropriate for today because we have a movie that's really about smart people doing smart things and silly things.
And
Lots
silly
of
things,
practical jokes in this one.
Can't be serious all the time. You'll go nuts, right?
That's just no fun.
It's no fun.
But also, Leia, we talked about quiz show for National Trivia Day, right? And Taken was Human Trafficking Awareness
Day.
So we have another kind of obscure little quote-unquote day to talk about on this one. Leia, being our wonderful movie scheduler, managed to find a movie that seems really on topic for National Popcorn Day.
Super on topic.
Super on topic.
There's not too many films that feature popcorn.
No. Popcorn does go with movies.
It does.
Peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter and chocolate, in my case, the preferred combo. But popcorn really fits with this movie.
Well,
with
popcorn
movies
fits
in general.
With movies, but not usually in movies.
Yeah, and in this movie we're talking about, Leia found the most perfect topic for National Popcorn Day. Leia, what movie today are we going to be talking about?
Today, of course, we're going to be talking about the 1985 classic, Real Genius.
Right. So let's get our textbooks ready and fire up our lasers in the lab so we can get that movie covered, right?
I think the young people enjoy it when I get down verbally, don't you?
As Leia mentioned, Real Genius, a comedy released in 1985. The movie opens with a promotional video showing off a proposed weapon. The video is played for a table of snarky old men who sit in a darkened room at a rounded table. They joke and laugh about women and weapons. Only one man on the board dissents and tries to bring reason to the room. Not always an easy task.
No.
He mentions,
"You're going to single-handedly cause a major escalation."
War, even. But it seems the weapon is delayed due to an issue with the power source.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, there's our whole problem to be solved already in the movie. The dissenter speaks out and demands reassignment and excuses himself.
This is too much. I'm going to have to ask for a reassignment.
I'm sorry to hear that, George.
We leave the oppressive atmosphere and disgusting company. Now we find ourselves at a science fair. A lot more bright and jovial, right? Who doesn't love a good science fair?
Who doesn't?
Posters and projects on display. People happy about what they're talking about, I hope. And this is where we find some of the brightest young minds showing off their projects. As everyone is presenting what they're excited to be showing, a mob gathers round a certain individual, someone who appears to be somewhat of a celebrity. That person is Professor Hathaway.
Are you Dr. Hathaway?
Yes, I am.
You know, I just love your television show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's very kind.
Played by William Atherton. You'd recognize him if you saw him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wanders through all the displays and centers on a particular youth who is presenting a project on lasers. Lasers are a big theme.
Huge.
This young man is named Mitch Taylor.
So tell me, Mitch, are you going to miss your friends?
Well, no. I think I intimidated the kids.
Good boy.
Played by Gabriel Jarrett. Professor Hathaway personally delivers the news to Mitch and his parents that Mitch has been accepted admission to Pacific Tech, which is where Hathaway teaches.
Mitch is in the Pacific Tech.
Way to go, boy!
Don't shake his head. Don't ever shake his head.
The two chat about lasers as we meet our next major character.
Major.
Another young man, dressed rather uncharacteristically, is introduced to a few potential co-workers as he is set to graduate this year and will be taking a staff position at the school. This charming star of the show is the legendarily smart Chris Knight.
You are Chris Knight, aren't you?
I hope so. I'm wearing his underwear.
Played by
Val Kilmer.
good old Val.
Val?
We were just talking about him not long ago, and now he's back again.
Yeah.
So soon. Finding his way through a dorm that would be right at home in Animal House, Mitch locates his dorm room. He settles in and inspects the room. His side is already clean and neat. However, across the room is a pile of clothing, a disheveled desk, and objects strewn carelessly about. Clutter absolutely abounds. Confused at the state of things, Mitch stands agape and notices a man standing at the door. Silently, Mitch and the man observe each other, and wordlessly, the man in the doorway walks through Mitch's room and enters the closet, closing the door behind him. Mitch attempts to greet the man in the closet, but finds a closet. Simply a closet. Though this mysterious fellow has seemingly disappeared, we will be seeing him again. But as we move on, here is where two very different, but friendly forces meet. Bewildered, Mitch is now startled and greeted by Chris, who's performing a handstand, and asks Mitch,
"Would you be prepared if gravity reversed itself?"
The
only thing I can't figure out is how to keep the change in my pockets. I've got it. Nudity.
Mitch, meet Chris. Mitch is organized, plain, very concerned with reputation and following the rules. Chris, on the other hand, is exactly the opposite of every single one of those concerns.
Total opposite.
Complete. Once again, we are with Professor Hathaway, being driven in a car by one of the men we had seen in the meeting regarding the weapon. He is here to put the screws to Hathaway and increase the timeline of laser creation.
Jerry, look, the reason I came here was to tell you that the climate has changed. We need a working model within 4 months, not 18.
We as viewers are now able to understand the breadth of the project and what is perhaps really going on here. Hathaway is developing the laser for the military, and it's obvious now why Hathaway is harnessing the power of young students invested in lasers. Mitch finds the laser lab he'll be working in, where he also meets a trio of students who are rather antagonistic to the young prodigy. Despite their grandstanding, Hathaway walks in and immediately promotes Mitch to take lead in the lab.
So from now on, Mitch is going to be in charge of the group.
We're just about to leave the lab and classes in the much more capable minds of Chris and Mitch, but we're going to hang out in the dorm for only a few minutes more for a purpose. We, through Mitch, are inadvertently invited to Smart People on Ice. The dorm hall has been frozen, ice is everywhere, and all the students are skating and sledding to their heart's content. Chris helps Mitch up after the youngster had slipped, and we are now introduced to the devious mind behind the freeze-up, Ikigami.
How did you do it?
Oh, sure. I tell you, then you tell somebody else, and the next thing you know, we're in the middle of another ice age.
Played by Mark Kamiyama. Not to be outdone, however, an erratic but jubilant and friendly face is seen bobsledding down the stairs in a bobsled of her very own design. The fast-thinking, constantly in motion, ingenious mind is none other than Jordan Cochran.
I'm Jordan. I forgot to tell you my name. I'm Jordan. I heard there was going to be someone new this term. Are you it?
Played by Michelle Mayrink. Jordan is frustrated that her bobsled did not slide further than she expected.
Are you okay? No, not emotionally. No, I'm not. I'm disappointed. Not terribly, but still. It should have gone much further, much faster.
And sets about making adjustments and alterations to find her desired effect. But now, we have assembled our main cast, and as we have seen, minds that are unchallenged get bored, and the whole lot of them seem to share a delight in hijinks and pranks, which this little film will have plenty of.
Many, many.
So, let us leave them to their test scores, experimentations, and devilish plans, while we simply get the answers from the back of the professor's textbook.
Dr. Hathaway's going to hear all about this. You know, you'll rue the day.
Rue the day? Who talks like that?
So there we are, Leia. I think we got people kind of moving along in Real Genius.
Mm-hmm.
We could have gone into more detail there, but it was already going long for this style of film.
Yeah.
So, where are we going next, Leia?
Well, I think we should start talking about the cast of crew as usual.
As usual.
Yeah. And I would like to start with director Martha Coolidge.
Ooh, okay, yes, let's please. Is this I believe, our first female director? Yeah?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
And she is incredible.
Yeah, she does some great stuff. I've found out that she studied at Rhode Island School of Design for Illustration. So it's kind of maybe a far cry from directing. But she ended up changing her major and became the first film major at that particular institution.
Can't even say first female film major. She's the first.
The first in that school, yeah, female and otherwise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. So leading the way for, I'm sure, lots of other people to come behind her.
Mm-hmm.
And in that vein, she likes to make sure she gets her facts straight.
Yeah.
So she and her team spent a long time doing a lot of research for the science in this movie, Real Genius.
Mm-hmm.
She also does a lot of writing, so she likes to oversee final edits on scripts and things like that. So she's very involved. She likes things being done the right way, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That being the case, I mean, she's directed a few episodes of Leia CSI.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Oh, shock.
Yeah, she was involved in 5 episodes of CSI.
Oh, my gosh.
3 episodes of The Twilight Zone, which, great show.
Yeah.
I love The Twilight Zone. She also directed a few other movies that might be notable, Valley Girl, Rambling Rose, and Lost in Yonkers.
Speaking of Valley Girl, she actually, in order to secure that directing gig, she had to promise the financiers of that movie that she would have 4 scenes with nude breasts in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talking about a bunch of disgusting men sitting in a darkened room around a table talking about women.
She had to agree to that in order to get that gig. The lengths you gotta go.
Just to see some titties on screen.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow. Some people just can't help themselves, man.
I guess.
I mean, I'm a fan of the human form, but if it's not serving a purpose, does it need to be there?
Well, I mean, it did have Nicolas Cage in it.
Sure.
She's actually credited with discovering Nicolas Cage.
Oh, no kidding.
She's also credited with discovering Val Kilmer in Real Genius and James Gandolfini in Angie from 1994.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I mean, obviously, I believe all of those actors had done things before, but she's the one who brought them to prominence.
She is. Yep. She's the one who kind of spotlighted them and made them more desirable.
The stars they are, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I know this was the first time I had seen Val Kilmer in anything. And then
he had done some commercials and things before that, but this is the first feature film that he was in.
I suppose the first time I've recognized him, right?
Yeah.
Because it's impossible to watch this movie and not spotlight Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
He did so great in this movie.
He did, yeah. She's a neat lady. She's got a lot of awards under her belt.
Does she?
A lot.
Accomplished.
Yeah. Some of her recognitions include Best Director for Spirit Award from the independent feature project West, the Crystal Award from Women in Film, the Maverick Award from La Femme Film Festival.
Wow.
She's also gotten the Distinguished Robert Aldrich Award from the Directors Guild of America. She got the Breakthrough Award from Women, Men, and Media. She's also gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award from Method Fest, the Dallas Film Festival.
Sure.
She's directed 2 Oscar-nominated performances, Deanne Ladd and Laura Dern. She's also directed 1 Emmy Award-winning performance with Halle Berry in it, called Introducing Dorothy Dandridge from 1999.
Man, her list goes on.
Yeah, it really does. She is also inducted into the Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame and the Museum of Television and Radio. She's also helped found the Association of Independent Video and Filmmakers, Inc., and the IFP.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for her.
It just keeps going on
yeah,
and on and on.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Man, so if you can attach your star to her, apparently she's going to find you some awards somewhere.
She's one of those women that young women should look up to.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're in the filming industry.
She's certainly setting a shining example.
Yeah. And she's another one, too, where she'll hire the same actor over and over again because she likes them.
Hey, like we've mentioned before, when you find someone you like to work with,
you just keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So do you want to move on to some of the writers?
Yeah, let's do.
Do you have anything on the producers at all?
Nope.
Yeah. I think the only time it's really interesting to talk about a producer is when a producer sticks their neck out for somebody and does something that you don't need to do to get something going for somebody that they care about or somebody that they find that's talented or
when
that's cool.
When they give a damn about art and humanity rather than just
money.
Yeah.
That's when it's cool to talk about them. But let's talk about some of the writers.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the writers.
The writers didn't have a lot of information on their personal lives or their backgrounds. So I don't know too much about them from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll still give them their spotlight as we can.
Yeah, I think the only information I really have on them is kind of some of the stuff that they've written.
Yeah.
Which does say a lot about, the kind of writers they are.
Right.
Particularly Pat Proft. He has done, he's a master of comedic writing. He has done so much.
What's he contributed to?
Just a short list, because there's a lot, but this is just a short list. He's done Welcome Back, Kotter, Carol Burnett Show.
Oh.
He did the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Ooh, now we're talking.
Big one.
Forget Kotter and
forget
Carol
the
Burnett.
other ones. Police Academy, Naked Gun, Hot Shots, Mr. Magoo, Scary Movie. He's done... It's mostly comedy.
Yeah. Definitely seems to have a knack for it.
Yeah. Another one that usually does a lot more just comedy is PJ Tarokvai.
Okay.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, sure.
Caddyshack 2 are a couple examples of stuff he's written. So these guys, they do a lot of comedy stuff. And then Neil Israel.
So I've got a few things on him. He wrote for Police Academy.
Okay.
Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks. I'm sure This might be some people who remember that one. He wrote for Look Who's Talking 2.
All right, so another comedy guy.
Another comedy guy, and he was the director for, I just had to call this out because
You had to.
so notable, director for Surf Ninjas.
Okay, don't know what that is.
You missed a golden time in the 90s, apparently.
I did, yeah. That sounds like something that was geared towards 10-year-olds,
That's
10-year-old boys.
Pretty much exactly probably what it was, yeah.
I wonder, I imagine these writers all get in a room together, comedy writers, and they laugh more than they write.
Oh, I guarantee that's exactly what happens.
They have a good time together. All right, so should we get more onto the actors, or do you have more on the writers?
No, let's move into the actors. Like you said, I wasn't able to find a whole lot of background information for the writers. Unfortunately, writers don't get enough credit and attribution in Hollywood. It'd be nice if they could be celebrated just like everyone else, but we can only get so much information.
We wouldn't have a movie without your writers.
No, not at all.
Not a good movie.
They deserve far more pay and far more recognition.
Yeah. So let's start talking about Val Kilmer.
Let's do.
He plays Chris Knight.
Indeed.
He plays a great, funny genius.
Yes.
Can you hammer a 6-inch spike through a board with your penis?
Not right now.
A girl's got to have her standards.
One hell of a character from the 80s.
So we covered Val in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
We did.
So we don't need to say, I think, a ton about him.
No.
We were just talking about this being his first
kind of breakout.
His first auditions were for commercials at the age of 13.
That a boy getting started.
So he got started pretty young. His film debut was actually the 1984 spoof Top Secret.
Oh, so just before this one.
That was his film debut, which starred blonde rock idol Nick Rivers. And then after this film actually went off, he backpacked in Europe for a while.
Oh,
so
no
he
kidding.
took time off between this film and Real Genius.
All right.
To backpack around the world.
A little celebration of his entry into movies.
Yeah.
Like a gap year.
Yeah. I'm sure he doesn't regret it.
No, probably not. I certainly wouldn't. So I will say something interesting about Val Kilmer that we didn't mention the previous time. When I watched Heat the first time, I always wondered, and you notice it a few times during the movie if you're looking close enough, Val Kilmer's elbow looks rather strange in that movie. Apparently, when he was filming The Doors, he did a stage dive.
He likes to do his own stunts.
He does. Ended up landing on his arm and broke his arm.
Ugh.
That healing process caused an abnormal growth in his elbow area.
That's fun. All right.
It's kind of like an elbow spur, but it's enormous. It was unusual looking. I'm certain he's probably gotten it taken care of by now, but it's quite noticeable in Heat. I don't think I've ever noticed it outside of that.
I've never noticed it at all.
But
next time I watch Heat, I'm going to look for it now.
Yeah, just one of those odd little tidbits there. A few more movies that I'm going to mention that he's done that I didn't mention last time from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The Island of Dr. Moreau. These are all kind of films that I view a little bit lesser than the ones I mentioned previous.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of The Island of Dr. Moreau, but I'm going to throw it in there. The Ghost in Darkness, which actually was a fairly decent flick. The Saint, not too bad either.
Not too bad, yeah.
Red Planet, a typical sci-fi schlock.
It's fun to watch.
And Wonderland, which loosely based on John Holmes.
Okay, yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it was
good.
Strange. It was
that was
fun.
a weird one, yeah.
Again, we've talked about Val before, so I don't know
we'll talk about him again.
If you've got anything else on him, let's...
I'd like to save some of it for another episode.
Yeah, we're going to keep on. Eventually, we're going to be just like, okay, Val Kilmer, next.
All
right. Well, who are we going to talk about next then, Leia?
So let's talk about Michelle Mayrink.
Yes, please. I love her in this movie.
Jordan Cochran.
Oh, do you have a bed?
Yeah.
I was going to make you one if you didn't have one, but you have one. Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, bye.
She's actually one of the actors I was talking about that Martha Coolidge likes to put in her movies. Mm-hmm. She was also a nerdy college student in Revenge of the Nerds from 1984 as Judy.
Yep, the Gilbert
Lowe's girlfriend. Yep. Her last Hollywood role was actually in 1988 in a film called Permanent Record. So she didn't stay acting for very long.
Went on to do other things.
Yeah, she explicitly actually went on to move to the Dominican Republic and study Zen Buddhism.
Wow. Okay.
Then she moved back to Canada, and in 1996, she got married, and she still studies Buddhism. She even opened an acting school in 2013 called Actorium in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So she's still active in the community. She just doesn't act
Just doesn't get out there on film.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. She's at least sharing her talents with other people and helping them improve their skills. I think that's admirable.
Yeah,
That's perfectly awesome.
While she was acting, she had decided that it just wasn't fulfilling enough for her. And I think that getting into Zen Buddhism was something that made her feel at peace, made her feel like she was doing something, good for other people as well.
No, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if she maybe felt she was getting typecast into that nerdy-ish kind of role. So maybe that had something to do with it too. I don't know.
Maybe.
But she also was in the movie The Outsiders.
Oh, yeah.
Which I really enjoy that one. Valley Girl, you mentioned Revenge of the Nerds. And The Joy of Sex, which also was directed by Martha Coolidge.
Yeah.
We got Michelle in there. Who is next, Leia?
John Grease.
Let's talk about it.
He played Laszlo.
He did.
Laszlo?
Hello. That's me. Hello. I've been watching you.
Our man in the doorway who went into the closet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it because I just wasn't connecting the two together, that he was Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite.
Uncle Rico.
And we had just talked about him in the Taken episode because he was just in that one too.
And he looks very different in this than he does
but
in
you can see it.
Dynamite. Oh, yeah, for sure you can.
I didn't make the connection at all.
No.
He's really good as Laszlo in this.
Yeah, he's phenomenal as Laszlo. You can tell he's playing a character whose mind is always working.
Yeah.
Kind of socially awkward.
But kind.
Yeah, but kind. Yeah.
Has a good
very
heart.
Thoughtful, observant.
Mm-hmm. In Napoleon Dynamite, he actually reunited with Real Genius co-star Sandy Martin.
Yeah.
Sandy Martin plays Ms. Meredith. There's some conflicting information about who Ms. Meredith is, but I'm pretty sure she's the wife of Professor Meredith. Because there's a Professor Meredith in there too. And either they have the same last name or, it's just a coincidence or they're married. I don't know.
I feel like in a Martha Coolidge film, it'd be unusual for two characters to share the last name just by accident.
By accident? Yeah, no kidding. She's actually the actor who plays, if anybody's familiar with Always Sunny in Philadelphia, she's the actor who plays Mac's mom.
That's right.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I just want to move on to a little lesser known character we haven't even talked about, but I only want to bring him up because he's an interesting fellow.
All right.
Dean Devlin. He plays Milton. He's one of the geeks.
Okay.
He actually went on to produce huge films. He did Stargate, 1994 Stargate.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah, he produced Godzilla, 1998's Godzilla.
Okay.
And Independence Day series from 1996. Well, I think the Independence Day films from 1996.
Yeah, one and two.
1 and 2, right. And the Mel Gibson period drama, The Patriot. He's gone on to produce some pretty major films.
Gone into producing probably more than acting.
The cool part, though, even cooler than that.
All right. What's super cool?
He founded Electric Entertainment, which has launched Electric Now, which features free programs to watch, 24-hour live streaming broadcasts. It also launches podcast networks that are exclusive to Electric Now.
Oh, wow.
There's like a Doctor Who podcast on there.
Oh.
There's a couple of, actors that have their own podcasts that exclusively work with him.
Wow.
So pretty neat gentleman. He's done all these things himself.
That's great. That's some real go-getter attitude.
Yeah. So he may not be acting as much anymore, but he is definitely not insignificant.
Yeah. Still, like you had mentioned,
still very
Michelle Mayrink, very active in the community.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So we can go without talking about the gentleman who played Mitch Taylor. His name's Gabriel Jarrett.
Yep.
There's not a lot to talk about after this film. He didn't do a whole lot of other things. His name was credited wrong, which is interesting.
Right, yeah, misspelled.
It was misspelled. It was Jarrett with 2 T's. It's only got 1 T.
Only
in it.
1 T.
Yeah. So he's been in films 21 Jump Street, Karate Kid Part 3.
Right.
He was in the Freddy's Nightmare TV series. He's been in several TV series throughout the year, just like one episode here, one episode there.
He had a small part in Apollo 13.
Yeah. So not a lot after this, but he's still active in the acting community.
Yeah, still kept around.
One of the other ones is Robert Prescott.
Okay.
So he played Kent.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The bully character.
Yes. Yeah. He's also another one that Martha Coolidge really liked to put in some of her other films. He debuted in The Joy of Sex from 1984, which is that one we were just talking about. He did take a break and he taught and coached basketball at Martin Luther King High School in Manhattan. He tended a bar in the Lower East Side. He worked a construction job at Ground Zero in the months after 9/11.
Wow. So not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Nope. And he's also been in 1990, he was in Law and Order.
Of course.
He was in The Sopranos from 1999. He's also been in The Bourne Legacy, Cold Comes at Night, Burn After Reading. He was a voice of Sheriff Hanley in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, no kidding.
So he was in video games as well.
Making his rounds over there. A little voiceover work. Didn't hurt nobody.
I think some of his humble nature and wanting to give back to the community comes back from his background. His great-great-great-grandmother.
Wow, that's a long way to go.
Was from Ohio, and she was scalped.
Oh.
And lived through it. And he always mentions that her kind of frontier spirit taught him lessons in overcoming adversity.
Jeez Louise.
So
Okay.
I think that's really sweet that, you know, he's got that history and he uses it to draw inspiration.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing. Holy hell.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not too many people have that in their history.
No, certainly not.
And live through it. So lastly, I want to talk about William Atherton.
Yeah.
You have to.
We would not be able to complete this episode without talking about William Atherton.
Professor Jerry Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
What's that smell?
Must be the dog.
That's popcorn.
Yes, sir, I know.
Get it away from me. I can't stand popcorn. I hate popcorn. Come on, put it over there. Put it over there.
Good. Now I know what to get you for your birthday.
He first achieved international recognition as the leading man in Steven Spielberg's debut film, The Sugarland Express from 1974.
Yep.
We also covered Die Hard.
Did indeed, where he was a reporter.
He was a television reporter, Dick Thornburg, in Die Hard. He also played Dr. Noah Faulkner, who was the mad scientist in Biodome.
Oh, of course.
1996.
Oh, Biodome.
He plays a lot of roles where he's like kind of schmimey.
Yeah, he does. He's got that
face.
Personality in that
face. He's got
face.
a punchable face.
Yeah,
you know, it's
he
unfortunate,
does.
but he does.
He knows how to use it, though.
He certainly does.
Talking about Ghostbusters, where he was the EPA agent.
Smimey, again.
Yeah. And then in Frozen Empire, he wasn't the EPA agent anymore. Now he's the mayor.
Yeah. Still schmimey.
Uh-huh.
He did appear in 2 films that have been selected for the National Film Registry.
Oh, I'm glad
I had to bring it up.
Val Kilmer would have had that covered, but
we talked about that already.
Yes.
So we had to bring up somebody
New one.
Yes. For Ghostbusters from 84 and for Die Hard from 88.
Yep.
So
we
got that plug there. Yeah.
I feel better now.
A couple just other small mentions that I thought I should put out there too is he was in Tim and Eric's $1 Billion movie.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yep.
He was in an episode of Lost, which I know we loved that show for a long time. Yeah. He was also in Law and Order and Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Gotta keep on adding those credits in there.
And then I also wanted to mention The Last Samurai because we had talked about that movie last week, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
So he was also in that.
Well, he made his rounds and still kicking around Hollywood, still getting steady work. So chances are we'll be seeing him again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that rounds out the cast and crew for me, Leia.
Yep.
How about you?
Yep. That's all I got.
All right. I suppose this is moving on to the next segment, and we have recently been starting with Leia's legs.
Yes.
Do we have legs to talk about this time?
We have legs.
Oh, thank God.
They're average legs. They're not long. They're not short. They're kind of in the same vein as our last movie.
I'm feeling seen right now.
You're not that short.
Average.
You are average height. You are right. So this got 5.06 legs.
All right, let me just see here.
Yeah, that's not how that
Yeah,
works.
I'd say about 506. Yeah.
This movie came out in 1985 with movies like Goonies, Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club.
It was a hell of a year.
It was a hell of a year. I mean, I was looking at, that's just 3 of the movies that came out in 85. Those are the ones that were out in box offices at the same time as this one.
Right.
But if you look at all the movies, and you should look it up, all the movies that came out in 1985, it's insane.
It was a banger year.
It was a banger year with great movies.
Yes.
Just epic. Box office, it did 12,950,000-ish.
Okay, that's not bad.
With a production budget of $8 million.
All right, that works.
So it made its money back.
Not a huge blockbuster, but it's at least bringing the profit back.
Right. I mean, opening weekend, it made $2 million, almost $2.6 million.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
Especially for 1985, right?
Yeah. If you take into consider inflation, however, from 1985, the film made almost $40 million.
Oh, man.
With inflation.
All right,
So it did okay.
Boy, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Kind of overall, the film got generally positive reviews.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few detractors, as there always is, because God forbid everyone just be happy with something. The only few detractors would sometimes note a kind of weak overall story. I mean, when you look at Real Genius, it's a fun movie to watch.
It is, yeah. There's an overall theme.
There is a theme. The story is not really beat to beat. It's not the strongest story I've ever.
There's like 2 montages in the film. I mean, let's be real.
There's 3.
There's 3?
Yeah, there's 3 montages.
There's three montages in the film. And we were watching one of them and we're like, I don't remember this montage being this long.
The length of the full song. Usually a montage is like, okay, here's 30 seconds from a song and you get your 30-second montage. No, this was the length of an entire song.
Yeah.
I think I know there's 3 montages. I'm pretty sure 2, if not all 3 of them, are the length of a full song.
Full songs.
So they really like their 80s montage in this movie.
Yeah, this heavily fell on
Yeah,
those.
story not super strong, but the dialogue, the character interaction, that's where this movie really shines.
Yeah.
And that is, even when a critic would come back and say, okay, the story wasn't great, they would always say, but the characters are incredible. They're notable, they're memorable.
Yeah. And it was funny.
Yeah. It was a really enjoyable film.
Yeah.
I mean, the comedy, I don't know if the comedy would hold up for today's youth.
The youths of today.
The youths. I love the comedy, but I also like really old
cheesy
comedy.
80s comedy.
I don't think our kids would sit down and laugh at this a ton.
No, but I will say Val Kilmer's one-liners, his bangers, he hit them like comedic gold.
Yes.
Like he was really good at the delivery.
He's really good at the kind of quick, witty retort.
Yeah, I mean, look at him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Same thing.
Yep.
Super good at that.
Very much so.
Yeah. That's all I have on Acclaim.
Not really winning awards with this one. I know it won some kind of really minor awards. I believe even Gabriel Jarrett won a Best Actor award for this one. A really minor award. Not one of those that you'd be like, hey, I won this award. Now give me a starring role.
Yeah. You'd bring it up and somebody'd be like, what's...
Yeah.
From where?
Yeah, that's when I don't even remember what institution gave him the award, which is kind of unfortunate. I should have at least called it out because he did win an award.
He did.
It's more awards than I've ever won.
Right.
But it wasn't notable enough to be attached to the notoriety of this film.
Yeah.
So no major awards on this one. It's still a fantastic film. Still great to watch.
Yeah. So let's move on to some of the inspiration for the film.
Yeah.
I do have some more inspiration kind of within the trivia of the film, but these are kind of some things that inspired the way the film was written, things that Martha kind of pulled from, because you had talked about how she likes to do a lot of research for her films. This will kind of be a little bit of the in with the new, out with the old, because I didn't have anything explicitly that had to do with that.
Right.
But she's kind of Martha was kind of a pioneer in a small aspect of this film.
Okay. Elaborate, please.
So first of all, this film would not have been made possible without the contributions of the movie's consultants from Caltech.
Right.
And from the University of Southern California. They kind of helped make the lab and the laser technology work. They brought the dorm science pranks to light and made them more realistic, more how they would have actually been done.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have more detail about some of those pranks later, but this movie would not have been as accurate as it was without their help.
Absolutely. They were instrumental at getting the feel that I believe Martha was looking for.
Yeah.
And that she was looking for that realism, that science fact sort of deal.
Absolutely. So there's a woman named Phyllis Frosticus. She's a female student at Caltech when the movie was being made.
Okay.
She was invited to come and talk to the producers and the directors, and she's one of the few women that was, even there at the time.
1980s.
Yeah, the 1980s. And that conversation turned to what it was like to be a female student there, what the kind of things does she deal with, all the conversations.
Yeah.
She's actually the character that inspired Jordan in the movie.
Oh, so Jordan got inspiration from a real life person.
From a real life person,
Interesting.
Jordan later inspires another character.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about later.
I can't wait for that fun little tidbit.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the laser lab and the professor who had been the consultant for all of that. Dr. Martin Gunderson, Professor Martin Gunderson. There we go. Professor Martin Gunderson. So he was the consultant that you were talking about.
He's from the University of Southern California.
Yep. And he personally kind of informed Martha and the other actors and helped consult on the script to make sure that the laser information was correct, that the math probably I'm sure it's probably not all 100% accurate, because I can't imagine that they were developing a laser as strong as they were talking about for real.
They weren't.
Because that is something that has yet to be achieved at that level.
At that level, yeah.
But a lot of the laser technology, he sponsored that in this film.
So they use an actual dye laser in the movie. Now, I don't know if anybody knows what an actual dye laser is, but dye lasers are cool because they use organic dye as a lasing medium, typically like a liquid solution. Other lasers sometimes will use gases, or there's like a solid state lasing media that can be used, but dyes can be used with a much wider range of wavelengths, often spanning between 50 and 100 nanometers. So wavelengths are measured in nanometers, which refers to the distance between the two consecutive peaks of the waves. So there's a lot more versatility. Yeah, there's a lot more versatility in using these dye lasers. So I think that was new technology at the time. Genius technology. And they were able to incorporate that in this film, which I just think is absolutely amazing.
I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of getting the cutting edge of laser tech at the time.
The dye laser in this film is purple. They say most dye lasers are not purple. But really, it depends on what medium you're using. And then with a turn of a knob, you can change the wavelengths and it'll change the color of the laser as well.
Well, I'm sure they probably had to find the colors that would pop best on film.
Yeah. So the laser they used in Real Genius was a 5 megawatt laser, which was bigger than anything that was around at the time. So that was not something that was actual technology back then.
Particularly in the student lab, I'm sure.
No. But today, the most powerful laser, which is named Zeus, is a 3 petawatt laser, which is equivalent to 3 quadrillion watts.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So we've come a long way since this movie. Yeah. So I guess we're moving into movie facts.
Yeah, why not?
So we were talking about Professor Martin Gunderson.
We did indeed.
He's in the movie.
Yeah, he makes a small little spot.
He's a math professor in the movie.
Totally appropriate.
During one of the montages. Because why not?
Because why not? You got to throw them in there somewhere. You might as well do it during the montage.
And then one of the math on one of the chalkboards in there as well. So like we had talked about, Coolidge had hired some consultants from Caltech and the University of California, Southern California. They actually are the ones who put all that science on that, the math equations on that board. And it's actual real math equations. So that's another touch that she put to the film to make it more authentic.
Yeah, it wasn't just some jerk like me walking up to a blackboard and putting a bunch of letters and symbols and numbers all together to make it look smart.
Yeah.
No, it's genuine math.
Genuine math.
Well, and the fact that she was so particular about having real math up there. Martha Coolidge, so she spent months researching and learning about lasers before this film. She is quoted as saying, "The audience knows when they're being lied to. I was taken by the story from the start. I'm fascinated by science, but I knew that to make the comedy work and the characters worth caring about, we had to do our homework." So she's saying that, yeah, you can have great characters, you can have lots of funny comedy, but the moment you start getting the science wrong, you're going to start getting people in their chairs being like, well, that doesn't work. That couldn't happen. And they're going to start losing care for the film as a whole. So I think it's very admirable that she took that time to make that connection, to make the film enjoyable.
Yeah.
And not just critiqued the whole time.
Yeah. And on that note too, even though she wanted the science to be very accurate and people to be, to make it believable, she didn't want to go so far as to create a movie that gave people a magical formula for something that they could destroy the world with, right?
Of course.
So there's like central theme in the movie, and I don't believe we need to put this in spoilers because if you haven't seen this movie by now, I'm sorry, but it came out a long time ago. So there's a central theme in this movie that technology in the wrong hands can be dangerous, right? Because he's trying to create a laser for the government
to the military to use as a weapon.
Blow people out of the sky.
Yeah.
So this sort of technology in the wrong hands leads to the death of millions, or could lead to the death of millions. This theme was so near and dear to the director that she deliberately chose to be inaccurate in certain cases.
Yeah.
She had her visual artist, his name is Ron Cobb, create the Hathaway death beam, but he was explicitly told to be careful to create a laser weapon which wouldn't work the way it was described in the film.
Right.
So she said, and this is a quote from her, "There's been a good deal of discussion recently about such weapons, including aspects of the Star Wars defense system. We didn't want to inspire any lethal tinkering." So she took the whole theme of the movie to heart, even when she was, directing it and creating it. So,
like you had mentioned, a lot of the theme in this movie is based around weaponry and the misuse of it. And in the opening, when those men are around the table, there's the one man who stands up and says,
I urge you to stop.
Thanks for your input. Sorry you won't be on the team.
This is going to lead to war.
Can't do this.
I can't be involved in this. And there's a point in the film where Laszlo even mentions to the laboratory team saying, hey, I've been thinking, what in your mind could a laser of this power be used for?
Yeah.
Really, the only thing is war.
Yeah.
When you sit down to start watching this movie, and this is a movie before cold open credits.
Yeah.
So they have, of course, the long opening credit sequence.
It's so long.
The whole opening is the credits overlaid atop blueprints and drawings of weaponry.
For weaponry.
Throughout human history, from, throwing stones and spears all the way up to trebuchets and all the way up to the atomic bomb.
Right.
When you're watching that, you're like, what the hell does all this weaponry have to do with anything in this film?
Comedy or anything in this film.
The whole film is a critique of the use of power and weaponry.
Yeah.
I think it comes through by the end of the movie. You look at the people who want to use this weapon for war and, okay, I'm just going to do this real quick. Okay, real quick, spoiler alert, blah, 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 blah. Get out if you want to. Okay, ready, go.
Now, you listen to me, Jesus. This is Jerry's house, and we're very close. So if you're not going to answer me, then I'm just going to have to go in. So I'm going.
Chris and his friends use it for a prank.
Yeah.
Not intending, in fact, there's one person who is in danger of being harmed by the weapon as they're using it as a prank, which I think is also another sort of critique.
Which is Kent.
Yeah. But it's another critique on, hey, you can have intentions on using these things for quote unquote fun or goofs. Even still, someone can get hurt.
Yeah.
So I think it's very poignant. But Chris and his friends would rather use this for mirth rather than war.
Yeah.
But mirth. So I think it's a very interesting theme on the film.
So I got to say, Martha Coolidge is the real genius.
Yeah.
Because she's able to take this really serious topic, but make it like funny. We were talking about that with Get Out and how comedy and horror, like for Get Out, kind of are the same thing. And honestly, in Real Genius, while it's not a horror film by any stretch of the imagination.
Not even a little horror. Don't worry, folks.
There are aspects that are horrific in the film.
If you think about them.
Think about them. And she was still able to put this comedic twist on it and make it entertaining.
Yep.
She was trying to say something about it. Which I think that makes her the real genius.
I would agree with you entirely.
You were talking about Laszlo. His name is Laszlo Hollifeld. There's a scene where he comes in and he tells Mitch and Chris.
I thought you might need some help with the test, so I dug into the computer and got every question Hathaway's ever asked on every final he's ever given. Gee, I didn't get you anything. Are those they?
So he was going to help them pass all of his exams and everything.
Hathaway was threatening to fail Chris out of the university, kind of in a blackmail fashion to get him to continue working on the laser.
Yes, he's like, I can help you with all that.
Yeah.
And he's standing there holding a box.
Yes, I think 3 boxes, if I'm not mistaken, even.
And so they were like, oh, is that, are those the exams there? And he said,
no. These are entries into the Frito-Lay sweepstakes. No purchase necessary, enter as often as you want, so I am.
That's great. How many times?
Well, this batch makes it 1,650,000.
He said he come to realize he has certain materialistic needs.
Of course.
So this is his way to get all of these materialistic needs because he hasn't been working. He's been living in a closet.
In a tunnel underneath the university.
It's actually taken from a real-life incident mirroring the actions of Caltech students Steve Klein, Dave Nivikoff, and Barry Megdal. In 1974, they did a similar strategy to win McDonald's sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Their entries came to roughly 1/5 of all of the total entries.
That's incredible.
That were sent in. And they won a station wagon, $3,000 in cash, and $1,500 in food gift certificates.
That's amazing.
It is. Couldn't do that today, but
yeah, it'd be difficult to get away with.
I thought it was a nice nod, especially considering that these were students from Caltech, which, they got all these kind of fun things, this information from. They added it to the movie.
Like you said, there were a lot of pranks in this movie that were realized and adapted from real life incidents.
Yeah, that's one of them.
There was the smart people on ice.
Yeah.
That was actually also done in real life in Caltech by students who had been attending Caltech.
The creation of that scene was pretty interesting. They actually had to create a sound stage for the Pacific Tech dorm room and the hallway for the dorm I seen. They had to bury thousands of feet of tubing connected to a powerful refrigeration unit beneath the floor of a 40-foot corridor. Then they covered the hallway with crushed ice and they watered it several times a day. And then director Martha Coolidge said, "It looked great, but with all that ice, we worked for 2 weeks in the equivalent of a meat locker."
Yeah, so cool.
Said it isn't too often you find film crews in the fall in Hollywood reporting to work in parkas and thermal underwear.
If I were them, I probably would have just saved that for the last scene to film.
She said the special effects department even made custom ice skates made from implements including baking pans, auto parts, and surfer sneakers.
Well, and that makes sense because it's all these students
making
who are
things,
just making shit with whatever they've got on hand.
I mean, like, if you think about the innovation that comes with, like, making a bong.
Right, yeah.
That comes from smart people, okay? That comes from smart people. The ice skates are no different.
Yeah, people in need of a solution with enough desire to get that solution made, they'll figure it out. So, of course, not only was the ice skate, the smart people on ice, not only was that a based on a real event and these sweepstakes, during one of the montage, there's a scene where you see a boombox essentially sitting atop a desk in a lecture hall, which is where the lecturer would be.
And it's playing his lecture.
It's playing the lecture. You can't hear it, of course, because it's the montage with that song playing through the whole sequence. In every single student's chair are small recording devices, large boom boxes also, all recording that lecturer's...
What the recorders...
Yeah. So it's just a room full of recording devices. No actual humans in the room. That also is based on a real incident. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love the way they kind of brought these real life incidences to show, hey, when smart people like to have fun too. They like to do stupid, silly things. They can be pranky, they can be goofy, they can be silly. They can also be very practical. If your professor is just going to play a recording, why not just record the recording?
You got to think about it, too. These people are under a lot of pressure. So I feel like some of these geniuses, they go to these pranks and things like that because it gives their brain another outlet to be smart and creative, but not be under pressure.
It's even mentioned a few times in the film that
like
students
Laszlo is an example of that.
Students that are attending this Pacific Tech, a lot of them do end up cracking under pressure.
There's even a scene where one screams. He stands up and starts screaming.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, the one in the middle, everyone's sitting around studying.
Everyone's just watching him. And they're like, and they just keep going back, go back to studying.
Yeah, he gets up, leaves the room in a panic, and everyone else just silently goes about studying.
Yeah, like, oh, there goes another one.
Yep, yeah, another one bites the dust. So, Leia, we've been talking about how some real-life events were taken and used as inspiration for events in this film. But, and just kind of a peek behind the curtain here for people, Leia had mentioned to me she didn't mention to me much about what she had found before we started recording, but she mentioned this one particular aspect to me because she knows I love, there was a particular cartoon that I used to love when I was young. So, Leia, what character was later in an animated series that was inspired by a character from this film? Go.
Are you talking about the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers connection?
That is correct. Yeah, that's the one. I used to love that cartoon as a kid.
Yeah, so Jordan was the inspiration for Gadget Hack Wrench.
Yes.
Which is the little female mouse with the goggles and the little flight suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. I never thought about it before.
Yeah.
I never put that relation
But
together.
when you look at it now, you're like,
Yes.
Phew, she is just like it.
Absolutely.
That's really cute.
Yeah, the mind is running 1,000,000 miles an hour. There's never just one project that can be finished. She has to be doing multiple at once.
Yeah.
She's always trying to solve problems, super helpful, super considerate. Gadget was probably my favorite character in that animated series.
You do like strong women characters.
Oh, I do, yes. I absolutely do. She was one of my favorites as a kid. I used to love Gadget so much.
Oh, she's so smart, too.
Oh, man.
So much smarter than Chip and Dale.
Oh, without a doubt.
Particularly Dale.
Yes, particularly Dale. But yeah, no, I thought that was a great little tidbit. I absolutely love and adore that because Jordan, there's so many good characters in this movie. Jordan, one of my favorites in this movie also. So it only sounds right that Gadget would be one of my favorites in Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. So
speaking of media that's come after this, this isn't really media that's come after this, although media has come after this, of this, what I'm going to talk about. But there's a scene where Chris asks Mitch if he would classify the drone escape. Remember the drone that goes up? If he'd classify it as a launch problem or a design problem. When you're watching that scene, if you look really carefully, there's a stack of Teen Titans DC Comics on Chris's side of the room.
Okay.
The Teen Titans, as you know, I don't know if our listeners all know.
Maybe not everybody, I'm sure some.
The Teen Titans are known as smart, underestimated heroes who outwit their antagonists through teamwork.
Yeah.
Not unlike the teamwork Chris, Mitch, Jordan, and Ick demonstrate.
That's true.
So
Absolutely.
There's a little DC comic connection there.
Kind of a little nod there. The Teen Titans are all young, most of them sidekick characters to the kind of more grown-up professional heroes in the DC universe. And they go about, and of course, they're not as strong or as fast or as capable as their adult counterparts, so they have to use cunning and teamwork to best their foes.
And who would have known Val Kilmer would play Batman in
right?
the universe later. So, it all comes back together.
It sure does. One way or another.
One way or another, it all comes back. There's also another scene where Chris and Mitch are together and they're trying to get the laser to work. Mitch is getting really frustrated. So Chris is like, all right, come on, now take a step back.
Let's just pause. Put that down. Let's just take a step back. No, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Take a step forward. Now, take a step back. A step forward. And a step back. And then we're cha-chaing.
Will you stop it? I'm serious.
He goes, hey, now we're cha-chaing.
Yeah, no.
That's actually,
silly.
It was actually, according to Gabriel Jarrett, that was a bit that was improvised by Val Kilmer at the time, and they kept it in the movie.
I wonder if that had been something that an adult or parent had done to him in the past when he was a kid and then brought that over. I think it's adorable nonetheless. It was
Dad
a great
humor,
little line.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think we need to talk about one scene that we haven't talked about yet, and the whole reason why we're talking about this movie to begin with.
Okay.
Can we talk about the popcorn scene?
Let's talk about the popcorn scene because, Leia, National Popcorn Day.
I know. We got to talk about the popcorn scene because I don't think anybody realizes how extensive this scene, how intricate, how crazy, how expensive this scene was.
How time-consuming.
This is insane, this scene. They actually constructed a full-size Victorian frame house on a plot in Sand Canyon, California, not far from Los Angeles.
Right.
In the house, special effects coordinator Phil Corey and his team set up an intricate network of conveyor belts, hydraulic lifts, air blowers, vacuum hoses, and then at the push of a button would turn 190,000 pounds of popcorn
ridiculous
into melted butter and popcorn hurricane that blows popcorn out the windows, out the doors, out the roof of this fake home.
Yeah.
According to William Atherton, who's one of the actors, he's a professor.
Professor Hathaway.
It took 3 months of nonstop popping to pop
so much.
All the popcorn used for the last scene. They also had to chase the wildlife away from the popcorn.
Oh, right.
Because the popcorn was treated with a flame retardant substance.
Yeah, and you don't want the wildlife eating
Don't
that.
want he said they had a whole crew out there just scaring the wildlife away, not eating the popcorn. To film the popcorn mayhem, director Martha Coolidge surrounded the house with 5 cameras, ready to record at any given moment.
As you'd probably
because you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss this because
popcorn is unpredictable.
Feeling like this was like a one-time, like we do this once and we're not going to be able to do it again, kind of a thing.
There's that old saying that you don't want to work with kids or animals, right? You definitely don't want to work with popcorn. That stuff does what it wants.
So they reconstructed the inside of the house at a Hollywood Center studio. It was a 2-level set. So one level was the interior of the mansion, kind of decorated in that expensive, kitsy, phony decor that you would expect a man like Jerry Hathaway to have.
Cheesy crap.
Yeah, to keep up appearances. The lower level had a huge 20-foot by 20-foot by 20-foot storage tank to hold popcorn until it was action time.
Mm-hmm.
So with kind of Rube Goldbergian ingenuity, the crew built 6 air poppers, each 10 feet high, and each capable of popping 2,400 pounds of corn an hour.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
It was made of sheet metal and heated by propane gas, and the poppers basically fed the tank through the pressure of the popping corn itself and a system of air blowers they used to kind of help push the popcorn
Move it along.
A conveyor belt and another set of blowers then swirled the popcorn up through the floor to inundate the set in the popcorn overload scene where you see like Kent going, "Oh, hit me, Jesus," or God,
in the awe of the Almighty.
Yes.
Popcorn.
Producer Brian Grazer was quoted saying, "To put it as simply as possible, the entire set was one enormous popcorn popper." That's to say it lightly.
A house-sized popcorn popper.
Turns out even more popcorn was needed to complete the bursting at the seams effect.
Surprised,
They didn't have enough popcorn. So the Lapidus Popcorn Company of Los Angeles, California, pitched in another 90,000 cubic feet of popcorn.
God, so much popcorn.
So Grazer also said, to put the total amount of popcorn into like perspective, we eventually used enough popcorn to feed 720,000 moviegoers, each eating the largest tub sold at the theater. That's a lot of popcorn.
It is. And the worst part is, none of it's edible.
No. I mean, they must have made some edible portions because you see a lot of people putting in their mouths. Yeah. At retail, the cost would have been about $1,800,000.
Boy.
But since we were among the world's largest consumers of popcorn,
no doubt,
if only for about 5 minutes, we received a substantial discount.
I can only imagine. I would hope so. When you buy in bulk that size,
right?
Yeah, I wonder what
movies run the popcorn industry. Okay, so like they better give you a discount.
Yeah, it's a little cross promotion.
Yeah.
I wonder if the people who had to do all that popping, most people love popcorn.
They hate it. Like they smell popcorn and they have trauma.
I don't know if...
is that popcorn? It's going to be like...
would I be sick of it or would I not?
Professor Hathaway saying, "I hate popcorn."
Yeah, right. Yeah, he distinctly says in the film,
I hate popcorn.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that was the most interesting information I've read about a movie in a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, who would have thought...
I mean, wow.
that much information about popcorn would show up in a movie.
And the amount of, like you said, Rube Goldbergian kind of ingenuity to create this scene is insane.
It's a fun scene. It's completely memorable. Even if you don't remember the rest of the movie,
remember
the house being destroyed by popcorn.
You're going to be at a house party or something and be like, there was this one movie where there's all that popcorn. Everybody's going to be like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. But maybe you won't be able to remember the title of the movie. But you're going to remember that scene. Yeah. All right. That's all I have. I mean, I don't have any other fun tidbits, but I bet you do.
I've got 3 more things real quick. I'll mention them real fast and then we'll get everyone out of here. So Yuji Okamoto, who played Ick, he went on to appear in The Karate Kid 2. Gabriel Jarrett appeared in Karate Kid 3. So they just missed each other.
They just missed
each other on that one. Also, during our quiz show episode, we kind of briefly talked about screenwriter Paul Attanasio. In 1985, he was still writing articles for the Washington Post. He wrote an article titled Fun with Whiz Kids, which was basically a short review kind of breakdown of this very movie. Paul Attanasio coming back again, who would have thought? And the final thing I've got to mention, kind of saved it for last just because it's video game related. When Mitch is finding the lair of Laszlo, he goes through a series of tunnels and elevators.
Oh, yeah. Another very Rube Goldbergian.
Rube Goldbergian.
It's hard to say. I know. It's hard to say.
Rube G-ish.
Yes, there you go. Rube G. We'll just call it that.
Along the way, there's all sorts of these notes and messages scrolled upon the wall. And yes, they could just randomly be notes and messages scrolled upon the wall with no connection to anything else. However,
there is a connection.
There is a connection only if you're savvy enough to understand the connection. In the credits for the movie, there is a special call out that says, "Thanks to Surtech for Wizardry." Now, Wizardry was a CRPG back in the day, and it was fairly well known to have notes and clues and messages scrawled on the dungeon walls that would help the adventurer. That's the only real connection I can see. They made that particular call out probably for that reason. There's no other way that I can understand that wizardry would be connected to this movie other than maybe people spent a lot of their time off in between sets or takes playing wizardry, which I probably doubt. So that has to be the connection. There we are. Leia.
Wait. So you reminded me of something, actually.
Oh, good.
So
I'm
you're
glad.
talking about the imagery. There's some pictures of like children's drawings on the walls of his room.
Okay.
They were actually drawings in Val Kilmer. Well, it would be
Chris Knight's.
Chris Knight's room.
Yeah.
They were actually pictures that his younger brother, had drawn.
Oh, no way.
His younger brother actually passed away before this movie came out in the 70s. He was only 15 years old.
Oh my gosh.
He had a seizure and he drowned.
Damn.
And so he used these pictures
As sort of an homage to his brother. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great tribute. That is super cool.
I thought that was sweet.
Yeah. Well, with that sweet note, Leia, do we have anything else or are we shutting it down for the day?
I just want to do a little PSA.
Okay.
If anybody has popcorn phobia or knows anyone with popcorn phobia, I want to apologize.
Sensitive to
I should have had a trigger warning at the beginning of the show.
Hashtag popcorn watch out.
Some of the causes, if anybody's not aware, some of the causes for this phobia are little pieces getting stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
fear of the crunch.
Oh God, you're
when
getting
eating
me right
it.
now.
I know, right? The general shape being odd or
completely
unsymmetrical.
frightening. Yes.
Being choked by popcorn. And lastly, the possibility that the popcorn will one day come to life and enslave the planet and attack all who once ate the popcorn or made it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's my little PSA.
Completely chilling.
Yeah. Just in case anybody was concerned that we didn't bring up,
Yeah. No.
that information.
You know what? I think after we shut down the lobby today, I'm going to go smash our popcorn machine. This is too much of a threat to democracy and the American way. Popcorn. I agree with you. Yes. Good warning. Good cover our ass on that one. Yeah. So with that, we've learned a lot today. We have shared a lot of trivia. Maybe I'll come back later today and smash up the popcorn machine because I've signed us both up for courses at the local university. This film inspired me to get us learning more. So we got to get out of here. Classes are going to start really soon. We don't want to be late for the first day.
Oh, that would be terrible.
So Leia, before we get out of here, do you want to tell the people how to find us outside of the episode, or shall I take that opportunity today?
Go ahead. Take that opportunity today.
Well, folks, find us at themovietheaterlobby.com. Send us emails to themovietheaterlobby@gmail.com. Go ahead and flood that inbox. We don't care. We'll sit down and read them all. Or find the show on Facebook and YouTube at The Movie Theater Lobby. If you aren't the sort that goes on those particular socials, we do have some alternatives. We have Instagram and Blue Sky, where you can find the show as The Movie Lobby. And then if you really want to get wild, or I should say less wild, because my account is far less active than the Movie Theater Lobby's account, you can find Brandon for short, quiet, calm, relaxing discussion on Blue Sky.
I don't know. You get pretty excited.
I do get excited.
Depending on the topic.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, talk to me nerdy. We're going to talk. That's going to happen. Find me at Blue Sky, or on Blue Sky at BrandMC. And then Leia, what about you?
You can find me, Leia McClevey, at LM Nerdroom on all the previously mentioned socials and at lmnerdroom@gmail.com.
Rightio. Hopefully everyone will find us. Speaking of finding us, please, really begging you folks, give us some subscribes on wherever you listen to your podcasts. If it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, whatever, wherever you listen, please subscribe to us. It really helps out. Reviews would be wonderful. Reviews would help get our podcast up that algorithm so other people can find us as well. And more importantly than probably all of that, please share our show with people that you know, that you think might be interested in what we do. People who love movie trivia, send them our way. Let them sit down with us for a bit, see if they like us. Other than that, I think we're good here, right?
Yeah, we got to go.
We got to go. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, I'm lollygagging again. I tend to do that. So Leia, let's thank all of our listeners for giving us their time and attention as we always do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So Leia, thank you.
And thank you, Brandon.
And of course, Leia, we're going to see everybody right here next week at
The Movie Theater Lobby.
Bye-bye.
It's okay, though. I know what the problem is. It's obviously the drag coefficient. I'll just have to redesign the legs. I can do that, no problem. I can do that here. But after they're designed, I gotta cut them, and that takes tools. That takes time. Do you know how long this stuff's supposed to last?
Maybe another half an hour.
Oh, that's great. That's good. I can do that. No problem. Okay, what's your name?
Mitch.
Oh, thank you for your help, Mitch. Okay, I'll see you later.